meeting. So this is gonna be light and interactive. So please do feel free to chat and join us. I'm gonna turn it over to Bryan.
All right, we ready to go? Cool. Hey everybody, good morning. Gosh, the chat board over here is already blowing up. A lot of familiar names on here. Hey y'all, hope everybody's having a good day so far. It's a beautiful day outside here in Athens, Georgia. I'm still trying to get used to this work from home thing. So I've been spending, as I think some of y'all know, some time on campus a few days a week, but then also trying to, socially isolate and be responsible and do the right thing and, take care of myself and my family and all the other people in our community. So, getting used to this whole thing. I am in my dining room right now. I do have office mates. One has 4 legs, and anytime anybody with a dog chooses to walk that way out on the road, you're going to hear Django probably really loud. I apologize for that ahead of time, but there is absolutely nothing I can do about it, I assure you. My other office mate is Emmet, and he's almost 5 years old. And, he knows I'm in here working, but you never know. He might decide to pop in and tell everybody good morning and say hello. So if that happens, I'm not going to apologize for that because I'd love it if he did it actually, and I think it'd be really cool. So anyway, we'll get started. So the topic of the next hour or so is reflections on my career in dining services and in the food world. And I think before I get really into it, and the chat board continues to get going here with a bunch of good mornings and everything else. Oh, dogs are welcome. That's good. I see that one. I just want to encourage as much interaction on the chat board as possible. So, I don't think it's going to take me very long to get through my part of, where I've been and where I've come. But, I'd love to answer any questions that I can, whether it's about dining services or about my own career or anything related to that. So let's go back a little bit. Let's go from the very beginning. I often think about my career in food and in dining as a career that chose me. I did not choose it myself. And the reason I say that is that from a very early age, really as long as I can remember, I've always been fascinated with food. I always loved food. As Robert Holden will tell you, because we've done it many times, I can nerd out about food in a heartbeat, and I can talk about it for hours at a time. There have been many times when Robert and I have started talking about things and talking about ideas and food, and the next thing you know, 4 or 5 hours have passed by, and we're like, how did we go down that rabbit hole? Basically, we were nerding out about food. I've been nerding out about food since I was probably 12 or 13 years old. My mother would tell you that when I was younger, she would go to work. And in the summer, I had an older brother. He's 3 years older than I am. So during the summer, we would be home together. And he would be basically watching me, which that's a loose thing to say in general. But I used to make these things called formulas. And I would take a big mixing bowl and I would go to the sink, or not the sink, but the fridge. And I would mix all kinds of things into this mixing bowl and call it a formula. So there'd be like raw eggs in it, ketchup and mayonnaise and just anything else that was in the refrigerator. And then when my mom got home at the end of the day, I would say, hey, Mom, welcome home. Taste my formula, right? And she would always act at least like she was tasting it. I thought she was, but I think she might have been faking it, probably for her own good. But anyway, I started cooking at a pretty young age. The first thing that I ever remember actually cooking, the first recipe that I ever did was a German chocolate cake from scratch. And I think I was about 14 years old when I did it. And it actually turned out pretty well. From that, I just kind of took off from there. So, I got into college and I completed a degree in political science from the University of Montevallo over in Montevallo, Alabama. I'm an Alabama native from Huntsville originally. While I was doing school and studying for my degree, like a lot of people, I needed work. I needed a job. I needed to pay some bills. Natural thing, I got a job at a pizza place delivering pizzas. Well, I thought it would be easy. I thought I'd be driving around in my car making tips, having fun. Well, what I didn't realize is that as a delivery driver, I had some prep to do. And one of the first jobs I ever had in this business was to slice 25 pounds of onions every day to start my shift. That was all fine and good. I stunk. I would go home. My roommates would be like, you just absolutely stink to high heaven of onions. It drove them crazy, but for some strange reason, I loved doing it. And I love the delivery piece. That went from there into waiting tables. And then all of a sudden the day came around and I landed a job as a fry cook in a restaurant in Montevallo. I had never cooked professionally before. I had no idea how to do it. I did tell my boss at the time, the owner of the restaurant, I didn't want to wait tables anymore. And I said, hey man, if you give me 30 days as a fry cook, if I'm not good enough to cut it, you can let me go. I'll go back to waiting tables. You can tell me to take a hike. It doesn't matter. No harm, no foul, no hard feelings. I made it the 30 days. I moved on. I started being a saute cook, grill cook. From there, it just went crazy. So I cooked for about the last 2.5 years of my undergraduate degree, and getting a degree in political science. Upon graduation, I had some decisions to make because there wasn't really a whole lot I could do with just a political science degree. So I was kind of thinking, well, maybe I'll go to law school. But I didn't really want to go to law school, but it seemed like a natural thing. Instead, I decided to go to culinary school and continue cooking. So about a year after I graduated, I enrolled at New England Culinary Institute in Montpelier, Vermont, and picked up everything that I had in Alabama and traveled up to New England and spent the next couple of years in Vermont. And then from there, went out to the West Coast. I went out to Portland for a little bit. I was in Berkeley, California for a short spell. And I was also in Seattle for a couple of years. Mainly during that time, I was working in restaurants. But when I was in Seattle, I did get a job with a company, Aramark, which is a contract food service company within their Boeing account. And it was an okay job. I made it 8 months in that job. Due to contract restructuring, I actually got laid off. And so that was kind of my first foray into corporate food service. It kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, if you will, because no one likes to get laid off. No one likes to lose their job in that manner. However, and this will date me a little bit on this one, I needed a job. So I got a Sunday paper and I looked in the want ads and I started going down. And this was in August of August of 2000, I think. So I'm going through the want ads and I see an ad, University of Washington is hiring chefs. And I had never considered previously ever getting into college and university food services, ever. I didn't think it was for me. I didn't understand it. All I remembered is what we served at the CAF at Montevallo. I also spent some time at Auburn and what we served there, and I didn't want anything to do with that, okay? So, but I needed a job. So I get an interview, I go in, and lo and behold, the executive chef on the campus had some ties to New England Culinary Institute, and I was offered a job on the spot and started. And I knew from the first day I was on campus that I'd found my career path. I just knew it. The quality of food at UW was good. Things were evolving. There was a strong culinary team. There was a culinary focus. There was a focus on service. At the time I was only, probably 27 or so. So I was still in that just post-college age group, but I really identified with the people that I was working with and serving. And I thought it was really, really cool. So I spent a couple of years at the University of Washington, and a couple of things happened along the way. And really the two main life events that happened. First, in April of 2001, my brother and sister-in-law had their first kid, and I became an uncle for the first time, and they live in Birmingham. And then, of course, 9/11 happened, which at the time and up until about a month ago, I thought would be the most profound experience of my life. And I kind of think that we're in that right now with what we're dealing with. But with the birth of my nephew and then that life-changing event of 9/11, I felt a very strong pull to get back closer to home, back to my family who was on Alabama. Interestingly enough, the folks that I worked with at UW, when they learned that I was going to leave and come back to the Southeast, they actually said at the time, there's only one place you should consider working if you're going to stay in this field. And I said, where's that? And they were like, University of Georgia in Athens. So the reputation was out there, and it was very strong. And I knew Athens. I mean, I'd been to Athens before. I knew that Athens was a great town. I love music, live music. I love a lot of bands that were from Athens. And I thought, hey, I think I can do this. Let's go to Athens. So I started applying for jobs about 6 months from my move. Never heard anything from anyone. Finally made it here. And if any of us that have been around for a while, we all remember Jeannie Fry and Mike Floyd and those guys that were here before, up until a number of years ago. I actually kind of stalked Jeannie Fry and found out where her office was. And I walked into her office one day about 3 days after landing in town. And I said to her, I said, Jeannie, I'm Bryan. I need a job. I'll wash your dishes. I'll cook your food. I'll mop your floors. I will do anything that I need to do to get my foot in the door at the University of Georgia. And she said, all right, well, you know what? We're hiring for a training specialist. I didn't know anything about being a training specialist. I was a chef at the time. But I said, fine, I'll apply for it. So I applied for it. I got interviewed and I got the job. And so I came in, got my foot in the door. It was a cool job. I really enjoyed it. But at the time, I really longed to be back in the kitchen. So after about 9 or 10 months in that position, the catering chef position came open, and I transitioned from training specialist to catering chef over on the retail side of the house. And I think I spent about 2 years in that role. Right after we opened the Village Summit over at Joe Frank Harris Commons, I left that position and did a lateral transfer, and I became the chef over at Snelling. That was a very profound experience for me because I got to be trained by a gentleman by the name of Willie Clark. And people oftentimes ask me who my mentor is and who I have a great deal of respect for. Willie Clark, I believe, taught me how to be a good manager, how to be a better person, how to be a committed team player, and really taught me to buy into what we were doing at UGA. And if anybody's familiar with my office over at Bolton, there's a picture on the wall. It's a framed picture of Willie Clark working the grill behind Snelling. I keep that picture with me and take it everywhere that I go, to every office that I've been in, and it hangs on the wall because it's a reminder to me to approach work from a humble perspective, to focus on people, to do everything that I can to help provide for our teammates and really just be a good teammate in return. So that's why that picture is hanging on my wall. So I spent 2 or 3 years, I guess, as the chef at Snelling, and then an opportunity came along to be the unit manager at Snelling. And at that time I was very much, wanting to progress, in the department, in the industry, and those things, and learn more than just being, the chef. And so I became a unit manager at Snelling, and I did that for, I think, around 7 years or so. So all in all, I was at Snelling for, give or take about 10 years. I tell people all the time, I've got blood, sweat, and tears in that building. I love it dearly. Any of you guys out there on the Snelling crew that have known me for a long time and were with me back then, we were together. I really cherish those days very much. And the relationships that we all had together, I still do. It was a really profound experience for me. But along the way, I got thinking, and, I knew that, being a unit manager is great, and it's a great job. Being in a dining hall is very fulfilling. But at the same time, I also knew that I wanted to progress again in the department. And I set a goal for myself that by the time I turned 40, I actually wanted to be in administration, more like an assistant director or something like that. I got really close to being 40. It was the summer of my 39th year. I turned 40 the next March, and I was still the unit manager. And actually at that moment, I said to my wife, Margie, I said, hey, we may need to plan an exit strategy because I really want to meet this goal. I really want to do it here. But overall, I just want to I want to achieve the goal of being in administration and in a leadership position like that by the time I'm 40. And so we started thinking, I actually started looking around a little bit, seeing what all was out there. But in July of that year, this would have been 2010, I think, or 11. One of our former colleagues named Pat Brusack retired. She was our dietary specialist for the department. Her position was redefined as an assistant director of residential dining role. And I applied for it, and I was fortunate enough to achieve that goal and transitioned in the summer of my 39th year into administration. So, from there, some other things happened along the way. I ended up benefiting from a reclassification, became associate director. And then in 2014, Mike Floyd retired. Jeannie Fry took another position somewhere else. And I was extremely fortunate to become the interim director for the department. And we went through a lot of changes at that point, and I held that position for quite a while. But then after a couple of years of doing that, was again fortunate to be able to step into the permanent executive director role for the department. So that's essentially where I started and where I've ended up. If you would have asked me back in 2002 when I got to UGA, if basically 19 years later I'd still be here, I would tell you you're probably crazy. It wasn't really my mindset. But as the years go on and you serve more and you're on campus more, you reach that 5-year milestone, and then you start thinking about things like, hey, if I stick around for 5 more years, I can become vested. You start thinking about retirement benefits and how that can help you, when you're older and retired, and the income that you can get from your pension and whatnot. So you start setting goals like that, like I'm going to get vested. And then, you get vested at 10, and then you start thinking, well, gosh, I've made it 10. Maybe could I make it 20? And then you start hitting 20, and then you start thinking, gosh, 30 is right around the corner, And so before you know it, you've got a career at UGA. And what I can say to that is I've never taken it for granted. I'm extremely grateful for the opportunities that I've had. And I think most importantly, I just love working with everybody on our team. That's really what gets me going every day is, being able to come in and connect with people. And, I am a food nerd at heart, but I'm also a people person at heart too. And I just love working with all of y'all that are out there. So that's basically the summary of where I started and where I've come, or where I've ended up. Looking ahead to the future, I have decided in the past year or so to go back to graduate school. There's been a lot of discussion on the chat boards in some of these sessions about the TAP program. I think the best advice that I can give anybody about TAP, if they're in a position like me is, or they're younger than me, is do it younger. I just turned 48 a month ago, and I'm really happy to be doing the TAP program, but I really scratch my head sometimes wondering why I didn't do this like 15 years ago. But it is what it is. So I'm doing it now. It's a great program. If anybody out there has any questions about how to get involved in it, or how to approach it, come see me, send me an email, give me a phone call, come by my office when we're able to do that. But we've got other people in the department that are doing TAP too. I'll pick on them. Chris Fagan is in the Masters of Public Administration program here on campus. I'm in the Masters of Public Administration program at Georgia College, so I'm doing that online. But there's a lot of us out there that are doing it that I'm sure we'd love to share our experiences with it. It's a wonderful benefit. Take advantage of it if you choose to, and if you can. I can't recommend it more. So now I'm working on that master's degree. I'm also working on becoming CASP certified through NACAS. That's Certified Auxiliary Services Professional through the NACAS organization. Really the reason to do these things is, I would like to continue serving UGA as time goes on, not only in the dining program, but perhaps if the opportunities come my way, in a greater role within auxiliary services, but also too, I will be graduating at a relative, or not graduating, but retiring at a relatively young age, I think. I hope at least around probably 57 or 58. And after that retirement age hits, I'm probably not going to quit working. So if I've got that master's degree and that CASP certification, it could serve me very well if I choose to go to a different campus and do something else. But the other cool thing about doing these things is that it keeps your mind focused and keeps you kind of mentally in shape. You're learning new things and, applying them to your work. And it's a really cool experience. It's demanding, but it can be fun if you look at it the right way. I guess my other piece of advice for that is never take more than one class at a time. You'll get overwhelmed, but especially if you've got a 4-year-old running around and other things. But at any rate, I've got some questions over here on my other computer that I'm going to look at really quick. One is, why did you choose auxiliary services? And well, actually it would be dining services. I think I covered that one. I think it more chose me than I chose it, but I'm really grateful for that. What do I consider the biggest advantage of benefit or being an employee for dining and auxiliary services? I think that there's a lot of benefits to it. And I think right now we can all understand what a lot of those benefits are. There are many people out there in our country and our world right now that are struggling financially through this current crisis. I think that we can all count our blessings that we work for the state of Georgia, that we work for auxiliary services at UGA. We're able to work, we're able to continue to earn our paycheck. The stresses that are going along with this crisis still affect us, but they're not compounded by perhaps the financial component as much as maybe other people are feeling. And I know that, from my own personal perspective, having a job at UGA and within our division and department is a real blessing for my family right now. My wife works for Clark County School District. That's a double blessing for us. And we're very grateful for that. Let's see, what else do I have over here? Where do I plan on going from here? Well, I think I covered that one too. I hope to continue to progress through auxiliary services. If those opportunities don't come, I've got a wonderful job where I am right now as leading the dining department. Very happy with that too. But I think that we always try to look for new opportunities, as they may come. And, it's good to always keep your eyes open for those things and be there. So anyway, that's, there's some of my thoughts and reflections on my career. I'd love to open it up to our chat board. We've still got about half of our session to go. So,
excellent, because we got some. You ready?
We got some good ones. I haven't been paying attention. So
good is in the eye of the beholder. Okay, so if you're reading, take your glasses off because they're causing a glare. And
well, I can't. Well, okay, you're gonna say them to me then.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
All right, so Greg and Chris, Gerard also mentioned missing Mr. Willie.
Yeah, great guy.
So Debbie said she must have been reading my mind at the time when she said, share some of your extracurricular activities. Cause I was going to say, what do you do in your spare time?
I can show you. You ready?
I don't know. Do we want to see? Yeah, there we go.
I play that. And I torment my family with the banjo. Seriously, torment them. I play a little bit of mandolin. There we go. A little bit. That's Emmet's electric guitar that I got him for Christmas.
Emmet's in air quotes. Emmet's.
Yeah, well, yeah. There might have been a little bit of manipulation on that one. I love to play those two things. So I do that quite a bit. And actually, I've been doing the guitar a little bit more during these socially isolated times, which has been a cool thing, strumming the guitar on the front porch. So I do a lot of that in my free time. I do play in a band, a bluegrass band, and shameless plug, we're called the Border Hop Trio. If you ever see us around town when we can be, come see us. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, I do that. And then I also love to spend time outdoors. I love to fish, particularly trout fish. I love to fly fish, but really any kind of fishing is great. I love to camp. We have a camper and we try to go out as much as possible and go out and camp and hike and just spend time outside. Other than that, I love to cook. Sammy Johnson, I don't know if Sammy's out there or not. Sammy convinced me that buying a big green egg a while back would be a great idea. And I can tell Sammy, if he's there, yes, it is a great idea. So if anybody is thinking about a big green egg, please buy one. It's a great way to spend time as well. So yeah, so those are some of my hobbies: cooking, playing music, spending time outside and camping and fishing, and spending time with family and friends. So yeah, good question.
What's your most memorable story from UGA Dining Services so far?
That's the question that Randolph asked me the other day that I told him not to ask me today. My most memorable story. Gosh, y'all, there's so many. I jokingly say sometimes I could write a book. I'd change names for sure. Some stories are so memorable that I probably shouldn't share. Gosh,
Would you rather tell the 80,000 box lunch story?
Oh, from Aramark?
Yeah.
Oh.
Ask about that.
Yeah, that might be one of my worst memories. That's a good one though, Catherine. So when I worked at Aramark at the Boeing plant, there's many Boeing plants up in the Seattle, Everett, Washington area. So at the time, well, they still do, all the jumbo jets that Boeing builds, the 747s, the 767s, 777s, the big jets. I guess they're not building the 747s anymore because those are retired now. Anyway, they come out of Everett, Washington, and that's where I was working on that plant. And that plant employs, well, at the time it did, around 30,000 people or so. And there's a lot of different types of positions. There's assembly line positions in the plant where they're actually building the planes. There's engineering positions, there's technical positions, all these things, but just a really cross section of people. Well, every year, or at least they did back then, they did an open house and they invited all their families to come. So we were tasked with building 80,000 box lunches for this open house that was coming. And we basically called in support from all across the region, all of the culinary team and managers and things that were working in the Boeing contract. And for about 5 days, we had 12 teams of 12 people, and then support staff on the other side, assembly lining boxed meals for this open house. And it was around the clock, 24-hour teams of building box meals. And so when it was all said and done, we had about 5 semi-trailers, all palletized with box meals and shrunk wrap, ready to go. And then open house day came, and we served only about 20,000 of those meals. So we got to donate about 60,000 box meals as a result. But I think I worked something like 90 or 100 hours that week, only to come back the week after and be told that I was getting laid off. So that was an interesting time for sure. But, we got it done and came together as a team. So thanks, Catherine, for helping me out on that one.
Oh, thanks a lot, Greg. Geez, that's just, that was really great. Thanks for
Chris Fagan asked, who signed my mandolin? Have I told you that one, Chris? Because you must know. So I can show you. Hang on. This isn't food related.
Was that a stand-up bass in the corner?
No, this is the mandolin. So on the back, those signatures. So one is Del McCurry, one is Ronnie McCurry, and one is Jason Carter. Del McCurry is a member of the Grand Ole Opry. He's about 82 years old right now. He's a very influential bluegrass player, been around forever. Kind of a hero of mine. I had the pleasure back in 2007 of opening up for the Del McCurry Band at the Georgia Theater with a band that I was playing in. And at the end of the gig, we got to hang out with Mr. McCurry and his band for a little bit, and I was able to get he and his son and their fiddle player to autograph the back of my mandolin. So I think that's pretty cool. So I will never get rid of that mandolin, no matter what would happen. So pretty cool.
Why did food services name get changed to dining services?
Yeah, that's a good question too. You know, we've been food services for a long time, and you know, when we were thinking about it back a few years ago, and it happened back around 2015 or so, we felt like in our discussions that dining spoke more to the experience, right? Food was it was singularly focused on the food experience piece of it, but dining opened it up to more of an experiential type thing. It included the food, and included the service, the community. Just had more of that all around experience piece, as opposed to that singular focus on food alone. The interesting thing about changing the name is that while we've been dining services now for about 4 years or so, we're still commonly referred to across campus as food services, even amongst people from all different units and departments and everything else. And I sometimes wonder to myself, will there ever come a day where we will actually be known commonly as dining services, or will we always be referred to as food services? So either way, it's good. I think it was a good name change, and I think that it was for the right reasons. And but that's why we did it.
Why would you encourage someone to pursue an MPA over an MBA? I
think that's a really good question, and I think that depends upon really where you want to be moving forward. So I know for me, well, and there's also some other pieces of that too, but you know, we work in the public sector. We are essentially government employees, so that's where the public administration piece comes into play. I do think, however, that in an auxiliary environment, an MBA is very relevant as well. But there's a couple things to think about on that one. If you were to do the executive MBA or an MBA program within the university system, you're gonna have to pay for that. It's not covered under the TAP program. However, MPAs are. And, you know, I not too long ago just finished paying off a considerable amount of student loan debt over the years. I don't want to pay any more student loan debt. So, you know, I think the MPA for us is very relevant if we're going to choose to stay in the public sector, which I do plan to do that. I think that if you're thinking about going into the private sector and you have the resources to do it, the MBA may be a better choice. But it really just comes down to what you want. What I can say about the MPA program is that, and I'm basically 3 classes in. I've taken basically the overview class of public administration. I've taken an ethics course. I'm currently taking a finance and budgeting course. The course material that we study is extremely relevant for me, for what I do on a daily basis. And I think that's really cool to be able to apply that knowledge and to be able to think about that in terms of how I approach my everyday work. It also comes in handy during class too, because I can talk about my own personal experiences at work, you know, and relay that in kind of a theoretical type of atmosphere, talking about public administration and things like that. So it's a good thing. But, you know, I think that it really comes down to what your goals are. You want to go private sector and get out of public, MBA may be the right choice. If you want to stay public sector, MPA, and then also that financial component of utilizing TAP or having to use your own resources to pay for tuition. So just things to think about.
Awesome. The Shaterika Sumlin said she plays the banjo as well. In my mind, I'm seeing a auxiliary services band coming together. Just throwing that out there.
Hey, we need a banjo picker now. So maybe, you know, we just need to get together after this and talk more. So
how long does the MPA take on average?
Well, I mean, it's a 2-year program if you do it as they probably want you to do it, which is, you know, okay, full class load. I think for me, it's probably, and I'm kind of moving at a snail's pace a little bit. You know, it's probably 4 years, maybe 5, something like that. But I'm in no rush. You know, for me, with the Emmet being here at home, and he's turning 5 this summer, and I'm really, I really love my family life, and I love being able to, go to T-ball games, although that got canceled this year, unfortunately. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, I love being able to do the things with my family, and I think that if I took more than, one class at a time, my family life would be negatively impacted, which I'm just simply not willing to make that sacrifice for this. But I think that if, by taking one class at a time and taking my time with it, I can manage those things much more effectively, and I don't sacrifice the things that are really important to me, like my family and my job, and I can still achieve the goal.
All right, so 2 things. First thing, where's Emmet? He needs to make an appearance. He and Django need to make an appearance. And then there's been a request for a tune on the banjo. So
I love all you guys too much. I'm not going to torment you with a tune on the banjo. So I'm a little out of shape on the banjo. I'm not much of a banjo picker. So plus my family's in the house right now, and if I pick the banjo up and start picking on it, I'm liable to get in trouble here at home too. So we'll save that for another day. How about that? It's probably out of tune anyway. I got all kinds of excuses.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So
let me say this though. If anybody, another shameless plug, I guess, but if you were to go to YouTube and search Border Hop Trio, BORDERHOP Trio, you'll see a few songs come up. One called Ruby, one called Killing the Blues, which is, and I don't know if Alan Walsh is out there or not, but Alan Walsh and I share a musical hero and a gentleman named John Prine. John Prine actually passed away from coronavirus the night before last, so that's been a blow. But Killing the Blues is a song by John Prine that's really near and dear to my heart, particularly in these times given the current situation. But we've got a number of songs that we put on YouTube. It was actually filmed in a living room that I lived in about 10 years ago. So we were pretty young, I guess, at the time. So, but they're good videos. So if anybody's interested in them, check them out. They're kind of fun.
So on a reward scale of rewarding, which is more rewarding, do you think? Working with food, doing the chef duties, or administrative duties?
I think that they're both rewarding. I mean, that might be an easy way out of that answer. I mean, for me personally, it's really not about, is the chef work better or different or what have you or more rewarding than the administrative work. Because for me, the most reward that I get out of work is working with you guys. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I mean, that's really what drives me every day, is coming to work and being around us. And that's probably what I'm struggling with the most right now. I was at work yesterday in my office at Bolton. I was the only person in the entire building. I got a lot of work done. I mean, I definitely was productive and everything like that. But, for me, I thrive on being around all of you. And I mean that. And so, I'm able to do that in an administrative role. I was able to do that in a chef role. And I think that's what I enjoy most about the work that we do. I mean, I'm still, I'm still a food nerd at heart, and I love the customer service piece. But, some people, they like data. Some people like financial stuff. Some people, they like other things over here. Well, for me, the really motivating piece for me is people and getting to work with a good team. And I think that we have that, and I'm grateful for it every day.
All right, so we're getting, if you had your glasses on, you'd see there's some chanting of banjo, or live show, and they will accept mandolin if you're not willing to banjo.
Yeah, guys, you just go to YouTube and check it out. You can see me playing bass on YouTube. We'll say y'all can pressure me all you want, but we'll just go to YouTube.
Okay, fine. Do you miss being a chef?
Not really, not really. I mean, it's I think it's good to have in my back pocket that if I ever needed to go back to do it again, I could. Um, but I wouldn't say that I miss it. I mean, I worked really hard to, take the white coat off, if you will, and move on to other things. It's certainly a part of my life that I value, and I wouldn't change anything. But I really, really, really like what I do now, and I like where my career path has gone. So to say if I miss it or not, I mean, I guess the answer to that, another answer to that is when I think about it, there are moments where I miss back when I worked in fine dining restaurants, working on a line. Like it's a Saturday night, the printer won't start printing, but everything is just cruising along. You're not in the weeds. The food's coming out great. You're kind of in that groove with your team. I kind of miss those kind of action-packed moments every now and again. But that's really hard work. I don't miss it that much to ever really consider going back to it. I have this like nostalgic feeling for it, I guess.
Ms. Nacha asked, does dining still offer the recipe book of students' favorite recipes from home?
We haven't had that in a long time, but we could certainly, we've discussed putting that back together. And I've actually been working with an author over the course of the past couple of years on getting some historical things put together for the department that would also have some recipe components to it. That project right now is a little bit bogged down because current events and things like that. I'd certainly intend to pick that back up. But we have an enormous amount of recipes from students and their parents in relation to the Taste of Home event that we do every year. We are planning, for those of y'all who may not know, to do a kind of a partner event, if you will, to Taste of Home in the fall. And I think we're going to call it From Our Home to Yours, where we actually get recipe submissions from members of the dining services family. And then we put together a special event and we tie it into Taste of Home. So in the spring, we do Taste of Home. And then in the fall, we can do From Our Home to Yours, where we're showcasing our recipes to the students and tie those two events in together. So maybe in the future, thinking about it differently, maybe thinking about bigger, we could have a recipe book, not only of our student recipes and family recipes, but of our recipes too. So, something we can think about.
Yeah, John wants to know, are you working, quote, working yourself out of a job?
I hope not.
What kind of culture do you try to foster in the short term and long term for dining services?
A culture of support and respect. I will tell anybody this any day that we are some of the hardest working people on any college campus in this entire country. The work that we do is not easy. It's oftentimes in hot environments, think dish rooms, think kitchens. Sometimes we have challenges, with customers even. I mean, we love our customers, but sometimes it can be challenging. But the bottom line is we work really hard. I think that if we stay focused on supporting one another, and what I like to say is serving one another. So if I'm focused on serving you and you're focused on serving me, and then vice versa, all the way around the team and all the way through the department, I think that we can create a culture that's like a working family, and we can maintain that. And we can strive for that. Now, there's going to be people that come along the way that, join our team, and maybe it's not for them. That's okay. I mean, maybe it's not for them.
Sorry, everybody. It looks like Bryan is frozen. Bear with us just a second. Not sure what happened. We lost Bryan. Hang on. Maybe he'll pop back in. We'll give it just a second and see. I'm not really sure what happened. He was talking and then he froze. Oh, I see Robert popping up. Hi, Robert. Yeah, it was weird because I was like, where did he go? It seems like last Thursday we had technical, was it Friday? I don't know. One of the days there seems to be, maybe this is the day of internet. Do I play too? Oh, no, ma'am, Miss Maggie. There is no musical anything on that picture. The picture that shows for me, that was a green screen at what was the name of the place? Crap, I can see it. They handed me that guitar and said, okay, smile. Hard Rock. Thank you. Yeah, Bryan just sent me a text and said, hang tight, I lost internet. We'll blame Emmet and Django. They were probably making a mess. Oh, wait, I see Robert's phone. If you want, you can unmute me. Okay, hang on. So needy. Hang on. Okay, you're unmuted.
No, I think that it's really good that Bryan has been able to talk to us through this whole time. Unfortunately, we know that we have some problems with internet connections with everybody and everybody working from home the way that we've been doing. But, one of the things that I think that Bryan's been talking about is, how he's gone through his whole career and done different things. And one of the things that when Bryan gets back on that we might be able to have him talk about is how we have gone outside of just looking at what we do here at the University of Georgia and really started looking at how other people are doing things too. And we've sent teams to different schools to be able to look at some of the ways that they're doing things because we want to broaden people's horizons. And so learning occurs not just in your own lives, but there are opportunities when we're at work to be able to learn from others and see what others are doing and be able to engage in that manner. So hopefully we'll be able to get Bryan back on here shortly. And I know that we're not too far away from the end of the time that we have, but just wanted to make sure that, if Bryan can get back on, we can talk a little bit about how we've been able to reach out to other locations and send people to places like UMass and really engage them in looking at what other people are doing and getting to work with other people.
Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. My internet just completely dropped out on me. I still don't have it, but I've signed in on my phone. I can't, let's see if I can pull up the chat. So anyway, I guess, where were we? We were talking about.
There was one more question. I had gone back. UGA dining is perennially a top 15 to 20 facility. You break into a top 10.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think about that sometimes as well. I think that, one thing that we can do is we can focus on doing our best job every single day, right? Bring the best food to the plate, best customer service to the plate. We have beautiful facilities. We have wonderful people that we're working with. Our customer service, we got a loyal customer base too, which is really cool. I think it takes a humble approach. I think that as long as we're focused on serving our campus to the best of our abilities and really conveying to our campus, whether it's our customers or administration or whomever it may be, that we are relevant, that we're listening to customer needs, we're adapting and evolving to customer needs, and making changes as needed. There are instances sometimes where we have to say, no, we can't do something, but give reasons for that. Don't just cut people off, but really be good campus and community members and partners and really build those relationships and build that trust. Again, serve one another. Goes back to that. If we're serving each other, then we know we're going to be serving our customers well. So focusing on those things, if we focus on those things every day and don't lose sight of that and take that humble approach, then those rankings and those ratings or awards that may be out there or whatever those are, they'll come along in due time. But when you think about it, 15 out of the hundreds, if not thousands of college campuses that are across our country, that's a pretty good number. And it's something that we can certainly be proud of. But at the end of the day, the rankings, they're nice. They're good to see. But if we can go home at the end of every day knowing that we put our best foot forward, that we gave the best customer service the best food that we were able to produce, and really focused on each other, all that other stuff's going to fall into place. So I personally don't get too wrapped up in those types of things. I like to concern, myself more with, how am I serving you guys? How are our partnerships across campus? Because I think that if we're healthy there, everything's going to fall into place.
How often does dining try to change up the offerings at each of the dining commons?
I would say as often as we need to, right? And so if anybody out there has suggestions or ideas, never hesitate to bring them to the table, ever. You can let me know, you can let Jorge know, you can let your coworker know, your manager know, Robert, if he's passing through, it doesn't matter. I mean, just vocalize it if you see something that needs to be changed or updated. Last year at Bolton, we had a lemongrass kitchen. It's been extremely popular. Shout out to that crew, though. It takes a heck of a lot of work to pull it off, but they've done an incredible job in doing that over the course of the past year. So we were able to, evolve Bolton, and Bolton's only been around for 5 years now, 6 years. So it's already evolving. But we go through, we'll be looking at O House down the road to make some changes and possible expansions to O House with some things that are going around on campus in the close vicinity there. Look at the work that we've done in retail over the last 5 years or so. We've put an incredible amount of departmental resources and effort into really bringing retail up to the modern era of dining and doing all that. So it's a constant thing. It's a constant evolution. But I'm a firm believer that a lot of it stems from just listening to what your customers need and what they're looking for. We did a survey back in 2015, and in that survey, our students said overwhelmingly that they want a Starbucks at Tate Center. So we set out on a course. We identified that as a project, and we provided that. It's an extremely successful Starbucks, not just for the coffee, but also for the experience. We have a great team over there that's really committed to customer service and taking care of people. Panda Express was another example. They wanted fast, casual Asian food. Panda fit the bill. That's what we gave them. They wanted pizza from the niche in Tate Center. So we developed Niche Pizza Company. So we're always looking at new opportunities.
You gonna be willing to teach guitar?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not much of a pro as far as that goes. If you want to learn guitar, I got some friends though who are much better guitar players and teachers than I am, that I would be happy to hook you up with.
Awesome.
Bass is a little bit different. I'm a little bit better at bass, so I could probably.
Was that a stand-up bass in the corner?
Yeah, I think. Can you see it? Yeah, that's a stand-up.
Yeah. Okay. Miss Maggie had asked that, and I thought we answered, but I guess we did not. So awesome. Okay. Yeah. Well, we've got 4 minutes left. We really do appreciate everybody joining us today. It's been great to see all the comments, and it's been great comments from everybody today too. So thank you, Bryan.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Catherine, for helping me get through the technical difficulties too. I'm really sorry about the internet dropping out. I think there's a lot of bandwidth going on right now, and the system's kind of strained. But at any rate, I really appreciate you guys joining today. Stay safe. Be well. And remember, like I said in the last session, the work that you're doing at home, isolating, is exactly what our community needs. And it's very valuable. And I appreciate what you're doing every single day and taking on that role. We'll handle campus from our end. Y'all focus on isolating and let's kick this thing in the butt. Thank y'all very much. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.